On today's episode of What's Going On in Shayna's comment section, we discuss, is it possible to decenter men and still date them on occasion? Now, the conversation has started in the comment section of one of the videos. I can't remember which one of mine, but we will continue it on here. But first, let's dive into what the comments are. Actually, before we do that, hi, my name is Shayna. For those who are new here, I talk a lot about decentering men, being child-free. I'm also a journalist. If any of that stuff sounds fantastic to you, please subscribe and be a part of the conversation. And if anything that I say really resonates, I would love a super thanks. I'm working on getting my membership in order. Updates on that to come. So now let's dive in. This person says you are calling for the decentralization, basically, of men, yet you're traveling the world is what they mean, dating them. You're preaching for women to not have kids and consider men irrelevant, but you're giving dating advice? Joke. I will withhold all of my comments until we finish reading. So, next person. Men have a limited amount of uses and we're free to use you as we see fit. Then they say, person tagging them, sorry you got used one too many a time, but it's not them, it's you. All right. And then this person continues, give it a couple more years. As soon as you start to wrinkle, you'll be discarded soon and you can adopt a cat and retire alone. Before we dive into the next part, you know what, let's just one thing at a time. Let's start from the top. All right. So yes, I am a travel journalist. Thus, I travel often. Last year I lived in 3 separate countries, the United States, Mexico, and Spain. And I'm in the process of making a long-term move to Spain. Now, while I was in Spain, I didn't date a lot when I was in Mexico. Honestly, I didn't date at all. I was really focused on like my grind and making friends. And people were like, oh my God, Shani, you should be dating. I was like, I'm making money. So by the time I moved to Spain, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to try and be more intentional. You know, I think that I would like to be partnered, but I was like, Shayna, how are you going to know for sure if you're not even like dating? So I was like, you know what, I'm going to date. So while I was dating, while I was working, I was also dating, and I made a lot of observations. And then I stopped dating because, yeah, they dress better. And yeah, they shower more often. But at the end of the day, no, thank you. At the end of the day, no, thank you. I did not come across a kind of man that made me want to continue participating with them while I was dating in Spain. So I talked about my experience. And you're preaching for women to not have kids and consider men irrelevant, yet you're giving dating advice. I'm not necessarily giving dating advice so much as I'm talking about my lived experience and what I think other women and people who interact with men should be wary of if you're going to continue to interact with men. I'm happy that you think I'm hilarious. I am hilarious, but I also think that you have missed the entire point. It's like the room is participating in the hilarity of my commentary and you are laughing at something that's happening 3 doors down. So there is that. Now, I would also like for us to pay attention while what Enrique Z2222 has said is hilarious. Wait, give me 1 second. Something's loud outside. And we're back. While what this person said is hilarious, whether you agree or do not agree, I would really like for us to pay attention to the immediate rebuttal. First rebuttal is that you have been used. It's tried, it's not true. This and more importantly down here, the fear of aging, the fear of being single, and the idea of having to adopt a cat and retiring alone. Men keep ooga boogaing in a way that they think scares us. They project their own fears onto a lot of women, assuming, hoping, praying that woman would also have the same fears that they do. Men are terrified of being alone. They're terrified of being old and alone. And so they project those fears onto women who are significantly less concerned with these kinds of things. We generally build community more efficiently, and that lasts longer and has more depth to these kinds of interactions than men do. So like, yeah, women adopt cats. Yeah. Women retire alone. Yeah. People age. It's giving ooga. Anyway, let's continue. So we're continuing on right up here. Pfft, says Lilac. Correct. I'd like to say I did that right. Anyway, it's not the threat you think it is. You guys say BS like this because you men are terrified of being alone. Project that nonsense elsewhere. Yes. Yes, exactly. But then the ooga returns to the conversation. You call it BS all you want. Denying it won't stop time. It's probably happening for you already by the sound of it. Look in the mirror. Eventually, the 2-inch thick layer of makeup won't cut it. Time to get used to the cat food shopping. Withholding commentary until we finish. Down here. Decentering males does not mean not dating them. It means we don't put them in at the front and center of our lives. There is more to life than romantic relationships, and if that relationship doesn't work out, it's not a big deal. Suki Cicero sums this up. But once again, in between this logic sandwich is an idiot commentary, right? It's like you got high quality bread and decaying food in the middle. Anyway, let's focus on the end here, because we did talk about the fear that men have of being alone. I'm very happy to see more women and femmes understanding this, seeing it happen in motion. And with this, the idea, there's a lot of projection that's happening. There's clearly a lot of projection that's happening, and men find ways to latch onto whatever things that they think women are insecure about to do that. But the more that you pay attention to the patterns that they use, the more you realize that this is nonsense. The idea of like 2 inches worth of makeup. What are you actually talking about? And if time to go and get the cat food, but also there was another mention in here about about just like getting older. It's when you look at it on its own, it's actually quite sad. It's actually quite sad that this is what men are scared of for themselves, and that it's the only weapon that they have to try and force women to be in partnership with them. It's like all the women are taking their SATs, right? Like we've studied, we've seen what's going on, we're having critical dialogue about this, and we're saying, okay, with the information that we've gathered, this is how we're going to choose to move forward. And then people like this enter the chat with nothing but 2 Crayola crayons and a wet notebook. It's giving sad. It's giving sad. And as sad as it is, I think that it is important for us to have a conversation about the fact that you can decenter men, actively decenter men and still date them. Like you can decenter men and still be married. You could decenter men and still be in partner. You could decenter men and still have male friends. Like it's not as though you decenter men and then you cut all men from your life. Sure, there's some women that are doing that, but not everybody is doing that. And it's still possible to decenter men and be around them. But how? How do you decenter men and still date and still want partnership, still look for it? It's really quite simple, which is what the commenter said before. I'll pull that comment back up now. Right down here. It means we do not put them at the front and center of our lives. There is more to life than romantic relationships. As long as you're not putting your life on hold for dating, for finding a man, if you are allowing men or like the search for partnership to be another thing in your life, another ornament on the beautiful tree that you are decorating of your life. And it's not the biggest ornament, and it's not the one that you've invested the most in. It's not the one that's the most expensive. It's just another thing. It's not the center of the tree. Dating is not the tree. You are the tree. And as long as we can understand that, then you can date and still decenter men. And I think that what actively decentering men makes dating more fun, healthier, and significantly less scary. Significant. And when I say scary, I mean like men are going to be terrifying no matter what. I mean, look at all the unaliving rates and all of that for like intimate partner violence. But we're taking that very big thing and we're putting it to the side for a brief moment. But when I say scary, I mean putting yourself out there is scary. Putting yourself out there emotionally is going to be scary no matter what. And I think that having the majority of your hopes and dreams and aspirations tied to finding a man puts a lot of pressure on that one ornament. It also puts a lot of pressure on you and a lot of pressure on the person that you are going on a date with. It makes it a much less enjoyable experience because the stakes are so high. So what are some of the benefits of decentering men while dating? You have more fun. It's not as serious. And yeah, like if you want long-term relationships, then I understand there's a level of seriousness that you would like to come up. But in the dating process, a lot of women are raised to be wives, are raised to be wives and taught how to be wives before they're taught how to date, especially if you were raised in a religious household. The idea of getting to know somebody, dating somebody, have somebody court you. What does that look like? Not every man that you date is going to be your husband, even though you have been trained into wifely duties. Cooking, cleaning, emotionally regulating men, preparing the home, preparing the space. Women especially, and I grew up in the church, which is thoughts and prayers to us who understand what I'm talking about. A lot of people have been taught to harp on the idea of their husband, not their boyfriend, not somebody that they could. We were encouraged to pray for our husbands when we were in like middle school. We were taught different ways to like clean. When the boys were able to go on like trips to the woods and learn how to build fires and make things with their hands and play outside. I vividly remember having a seminar about how to properly wash your face. And that was done in the basement of the church with me and all of the other middle school aged girls. Because maintaining a good face and this was something that was discussed within this seminar class, I don't know. It was about maintaining the Proverbs 31 beauty externally and internally. Now, why are you sharing this with 12-year-olds? Because they're training us to be wives. Centering maleness and centering male attention and validation is it's a core, unfortunately, tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think I am. It's a core value in a lot of the big religions, especially religions that are based within the Bible, scripture. I'm talking the big three: Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, because the male God is also the focus. Now, for me to do a deep dive into that's a whole other video. But to talk about dating, to bring the focus back on dating. Decentering men while dating also allows you the space to more clearly identify people that are good partners for you, that are more compatible with you, because you're not centering maleness as a whole. You're looking for something more specific, not just men, you're looking for something more specific. And if you're decentering men, like the idea of men, then in practice, you are able to more clearly identify the qualities that you are looking for in a man that you are more compatible with, which also allows you to let the ones go that do not meet your criteria. Because you're not looking for any man. If you're just looking for any man, if you just have a space that you want to be filled by somebody, then sure, any man will do. But if you're decentering men, then you're not going to want just anybody to fill up this space. you're going to be a lot more selective, and you're going to be able to identify what are the criteria to fill this space. And it's going to be way less personal for you, less personal for them. And in my experience, since I've started decentering men, it's for all the breakups that I've initiated, or like we've mutually said, listen, it's just not going to work. It interestingly enough has made all of my breakups a lot more cordial. Like we haven't left on bad terms, at least not on my part. But yeah, these are my thoughts. Let me know if you agree. If you do, type away. If you don't, you could also type away. I'm curious. But yeah, so that's everything for now. I will talk to you guys next time. Oh, and if there's anything that you want me to like comment on, feel free to tag me and stuff. It might take me a second, but I go through my tags. I do. Okay, so that is all for now, and I'll talk to you later. All right, bye.